And I'm going to do a quick introduction of James and Dave so that I know a lot of you know something about both of them, but I'm going to introduce them quick so that we can jump in and you can know who you're listening to. But James, we're so honored to have you here with us. And James is a real live Superman. And I love that
I love
branding,
it.
that power, but he's a power lifter. He can lift 760 pounds, and he is just inspiration and motivation to people. And his leg was amputated when he was 11 years old, and he hid it for like 45 years and always wore pants and didn't want people to know. And when he just decided to wear shorts in public, he started to really own the power that he has in being exactly who he is. And so I'm really excited to hear your story and hear just how you've inspired so many people through the platform, through the marketing, through all of the different projects that you're doing. And so anyway, welcome, James, and we're really happy to have you.
I'm excited to be here. That was a great introduction to be here with guys. Mark Willis, Chrissy, everybody that's here, but especially the one, the only, the incomparable Dave Austin,
Good,
That's not
Dave.
bad.
the $6 million man. He's
Oh,
the new one. We just got to put a whole series behind him. But Moonshot is life changing for everyone. It teaches us how to be a beast, and now I'm here so I can learn more from him.
yeah, and if you haven't watched Moonshots, this is an incredible docu-series that Dave's put together, had done for him, and it's on extremefocus.com/moonshots. I highly recommend it. But just a quick introduction of Dave. He is always so fun to introduce because he's just this incredible Renaissance man. He's a former pro tennis player. He is a Grammy Award winner. He's a hit songwriter. He's a best-selling author, and he's coached the gold medal Olympians, Navy SEALs, corporate executives, government officials, and pro athletes. And he really helps people to get into the 1% and perform at their peak state. And he's also starting a coaching program that just starts next month, October 11th. And he is actually training other coaches and leaders to use the methods that he uses to get these kind of results. And so I really want to invite you to check out extremefocus.com/certification and learn more about that, and reach out to me and just message me here if that's something that you want more information about, because I'd love to share that with you as well. So anyway, we're all here to hear from these two incredible men. So Dave, take it away.
Thank you, Paige. And man, it's a glorious day because every time I talk to Mr. James, it becomes glorious. It just radiates out of him. We've had, what's it, a little over a week ago, we had a chance to be on the stage together in Hollywood, an amazing event called Promise to Live. But James always brings it, always brings it. Here's how I feel about James. God put his hands on James and said, son, because of your faith is so strong as a mustard seed, we're going to build a mountain together to spread the word out around the world, because we need a positive light right now. We need something to help us. There's a lot of darkness, and James, you could bring more light. So we'll just start with 250 million. Okay, that will get us started. And then with that, we'll start building it and growing it into something significant. 250 people. That's significant. My wife told me one time when I wrote my first book, I was being kind of, I had this, in the calendar section of the Los Angeles Times, it was saying, Dave Austin, meet him at, at the big bookstore that nowadays we still have a few, and I was so concerned, will anybody show up? And Kathy goes, just get out of your own way. If one person shows up, and you make it different on one person, does that matter? I thought, what? That's exactly what I needed right now. Now, it turned out there was a lot of people that showed up, but if we haven't the desire and passion and feel what he feels when he has God's hands on his shoulders, things just kind of happen. It's almost like we'll call it magic, but it's just part of life when you know that there's something bigger in you that's waiting to come out of you. And James just, okay, yes. And, even with one leg, he says, but Lord, I only have one leg. He says, well, that's okay. With your faith, I'll give you the power of 6 horses that pulls 3,000 tons of a wagon. And James says, oh, that's cool. Okay, let's go, baby. Let's go. So, James, a year ago, you didn't have a YouTube channel with 200 and some million views. Tony Robbins has been working, and it's very impressive. He's worked a long time, and we all know Tony Robbins, and he's been able to work it to have half as many views as you in 1 year. So I think having those hands on the shoulders has to have something to do with it, my friend.
Man, hey, I tell you what, one of the things I'm most honored about is that whole thing you use, that magic analogy, right? That there's always that abracadabra. And I used to wonder, what did that mean when they would say it? Just sounded on the cartoons, they say it, abracadabra. But it literally comes from the Hebrew. It means to, out of absolutely nothing, speak it into existence. And when I was still a child, my grandmother used to speak what I would be. So today, everything that I walk in is almost as if I had already heard it before, because she spoke it. She abracadabraed my purpose, and for me to be a man that would live with some sense of purpose.
That's awesome. That is so awesome. And you're living it. You're living it fully. I know it being around you. You speak it, but it's more importantly, I think that you don't just speak it, you live it. So it radiates from you. As you know, last week I was invited by President Biden and Dr. Jill Biden to come to the White House. We had dinner. It was really cool. All those great things, right? But the only reason I bring it up is that it fits you so perfectly, because we had the White House dinner, and then Friday night we had a very fancy dinner at the Smithsonian. And Martin Sheen, who was the actor in West Wing, which Kathy and I have not seen before. We started watching it now since the whole cast was there because it's their 25th anniversary. But here's the story that Martin said that relates to all this. He said, this gentleman died and went to heaven, and St. Peter said, oh, you don't have any scars. And the gentleman goes, oh, it's pretty cool, isn't it? Because, well, why didn't you want to do more in life and achieve more? He goes, wait, what? Anybody that is willing to achieve a lot, we do have scars that happen. It's how we deal with adversity. And what you've done is you've had some adversity, but you didn't say, oh, I can't do it because of this. You said, because of this, I am going to do it even greater. How's that grab you? Because you're doing it.
Well, I'll tell you what, one of the things that grabs me is this. The reality is that I used to be angry at God for the fact that I was born with a disability. Why am I different than everyone else? Why is there something missing in me? Why am I poor? Why, all these different things of why? And sometimes you don't get the answer, not right away. But when I found myself coming off of mute and began to tell my story, I realized that the greatest gift ever given to me was the scars. Because it was from there that I had credibility. It was from there that I developed some resiliency. It was from there that I was broken and I was able to be mended, and then I could have a story that someone would be listening to. You see, the greatest challenge I had in life was learning to accept me as I am. I think that's the challenge most people have. We want to be other people, not realizing you are an original. You are amazing. You're one of a kind. And if you stay in your lane, stay in your track, you'll discover that not only are you useful, man, there's stories that will be written about you, because it will help other people have a roadmap for them to be able to come out of their own darkness.
Yeah, and I think that's something that, it sounds almost so simple, but sometimes we hear that strength that's really us, but well, wait a minute, it's me. How can I do this? How can I do that? Right? And so we don't step into it, because when you talk about the scars, the one thing that I have found through people that I've worked with, through all that I've coached, maybe there's one word that I could use is resilience. And people think that here's a superstar, right? In sports, won the MVP of the World Series. Marlon, was an NFL superstar. You think, well, they didn't have the adversity. They just had it all laid out for them. Oh, not even close. It's the willingness to take on whatever that challenge is and say yes to it and move through it. And it's hard. I'm not saying it's easy. I mean,
No.
move through some of the mountains you've moved through. I mean, has it been just laid out for you?
No, I mean, like, in order to be a beast, you got to be reminded sometimes how to become one. You have to have some principles. You got to have a book that gives you a roadmap to it, like the one you wrote, right? But when you don't have a Dave Austin in your life first, you start off with trying to be like those you see around you. You get the false impression of manhood, the toughest kid in your neighborhood who holds his head back and walks like he's tough, but that's an insecurity showing up. And then you realize that it's not that. So where's the beast found? The beast is found when you finally get to that part of your life and you realize that this thing I was born for, this thing I'm willing to die for. And this thing here this is my purpose. This is my cause. Let me tell you this. I felt like my life was put on pause the day my grandmother died. And I felt abandoned because it was only there that I knew unconditional love. It was only there that I knew that somebody who affirmed me, spoke life over me, who believed in me. And if she's gone, what do I have? What I had was her words. And her words helped form my work. So when I finally got into the darkest nights, and every one of us gets there, when you get dark, you feel like quitting, you feel like giving up, you have to remember that at midnight, it's a brand new day, whether the light shows up or not. And out of the darkness of your life can become the colors that other can see. That's a rainbow that says, man, there's a promise over you that never will you face more than what you can handle. Even when it feels like it's unbearable, you are the bear. Be unbearable. Go after everything you want. Resiliency came out of me because I found myself in dark places and I had to fight my way out of that corner. And most of my dark places, Dave, were in the mind.
Oh, amen. It really is. Our biggest asset is our mind. And so, we don't use it to the full extent. I am so honored. It brings me to tears that you called me one day as you showed this book. I realized I have one right here. I can do it too. And you said, I have a brother in need that I'm going to coach, and he's going to fly out here. And I
Yeah.
just want to let you know, I've read The Be a Beast, and I'm going to teach him the Beast principles. And I'm thinking, wow, that is just, I'm just so honored that you chose to use tools that God's gifted me.
That's
And
right.
that's all it's been. I haven't done it alone. I can't say, oh, look at me. Look what I've just done. I just always ask for guidance. And then it's a matter of accepting it. And maybe it's not always the exact thing, but I don't try to control it. I just try to open to it and then take the action. When I got invited last week to go to the White House, I'm like, why me? I mean, why is this? And Kathy and I are going, Kathy goes, oh my God, am I going to have to wear heels? I'm like, we get down to the oh my God. But I don't understand, but I don't have to understand.
No.
Stops us is the how, where you're an example of the will to do it. You don't
Man.
stop the how. You learn the how by taking, like what Martin Luther King said, true faith is taking one step, even if I can't see the whole staircase, because one step will give me another view, and another step will give me a new view. And
Yeah,
so
come on.
now that if I keep taking those steps, I will find the light. And now what you are, in my opinion, is a lighthouse for others to find theirs.
Wow. I tell you what, there's one of the mentioning Martin Luther King, there was another speech, Beyond I Have a Dream. It's called A Knock at Midnight. And I believe that every one of us gets that. That's when you get an opportunity to answer the call. Every one of us is called to do something, become something. And because we become that, man, we overcome something. You have to answer the call, though. The knock at midnight is something that everyone has to decide. Do I want what's best for me? Do I want to be the best version of me? Let me give you an example of something about a knock at midnight. It's a character check. I had gone off. This is before all the blessings came. There was a season where I had to be planted as a seed. And in the seed moments, it felt like I was abandoned and alone again because no one seeds you. That's the thing about being a seed. You got to be covered up with dirt. Sometimes dirt can be your past, dirt can be your own mental baggage, whatever it is. You're covered up with that stuff, and you got to be able to get the nutrients out of that same soil, out of that same dirt, and find glory in the back of your story and come out of it. So when I started to break ground, here's one moment that stands out that I've never shared this, but I'm gonna share it with you, Dave. I was in one of my first interviews ever done was in the back of a car. I'm in the back seat of a car doing an interview, and people probably thought from the imagery it may look like I'm in a limo, but it wasn't. Here's what it was. I had calculated risk. I invested in myself one time a little bit too much. I bet on me, and I came up short. So they were coming to repossess my car. And the only way that I could keep the car there is to be inside of it. So the tow truck is trying to connect. I'm sitting in the car and I'm doing an interview, and I've got to come off like, hey, everything is cool. And the guy's in the background, you'll see him walking back and forth, ready to take the car. But he's like, the guy won't get out. I hear him on his cell phone, and I'm trying to get him to stay quiet enough that the interview isn't interrupted. But it's 96 degrees outside, and I got the windows up. I'm sweating like crazy, and I'm answering questions as fast as I can so I can do the interview, get off, and let them take my car. Well, when they took my car, I get out of there and I'm very discouraged. And I called the bank and I was like, hey, I'm so sorry that I got behind, but I need my car. And they were like, you have to make this payment by 5 p.m. or there'll be another fee and it gets more expensive. So I catch an Uber out to the bank and I sit down with the lady. It's 4:45. And she said, is there anyone you can borrow the money from? And I had this head trash. I can't let people know that I'm in need because they'll look at me differently, right? Even though I have a need, I'm afraid to ask because of what they may perceive me to be. But I sit there and I said, wait, I'm going to make a phone call to one person. So I make a call to someone. And the one person I reach out to says, yeah, you can do it. I'll do it for you. I was like, thank you. Now it's 4:54. And I'm like, well, all right, 6 minutes to go. I'm about to get my car. And they say, we're going to put on American Express. Well, the bank doesn't take American Express. And so they were like, sorry. And so now it's 5 o'clock. Time has run out. And I'm discouraged. This is before anyone knew my name, before I'd grown up. It was my first interview that day. Well, the bank president of the local credit union walks past and he says, good night, everyone. Good night. And he stops in. He's like, hey, Anita, is everything okay? That's the bank teller working with me in her office. She was like, well, Mr. Dixon here. And you know how some people have a way of throwing shade in a positive way. Mr. Dixon can't pay his bills and he's trying to, and I was like, you don't have to put it like that. That's what I'm thinking, but I can't say anything because I gotta be humble because I've been begging this lady, just give me my car. I'll figure it out. But no, the guy looks in and says, Dixon. So he looks to the office and he looks at me. Miguel Patterson at Lamco Credit Union. This is real story. This is what happens. He looks in, Dave, and he says, you're the same James that helped my brother TJ. I didn't know that you had a brother TJ. He said, yeah, my brother was in the hospital and he needed a kidney transplant and you were willing to be tested to see if you could even give him yours. And you didn't even know my brother, but he met you and he asked you and you said, yeah. And he said, my brother passed away, but you gave him hope. And so what I want to do for you, James, is to thank you in a different way. I said, what do you mean? I need someone to help be a model for us, and your name is growing. I'd like you to be on one of our billboards. We will pay you by paying off the debt you owe on your car if you'll do that for me. Grab your keys, take your car. And that's when I learned that if you answer the knock at midnight, when you don't have money to cover things, your name can. But it's based on you answering that call. If I didn't step up and I take the call to serve someone, if I wasn't willing to give something out of me, maybe he thought because I was an amputee, I had spare parts or something. But he went ahead and he goes, but he asked me for one. And I was like, man, if all I need is one and you can have it, let's do it. I didn't know that 4 years later, that moment of kindness, even though we didn't go through, would turn into something else. We all must answer that knock at midnight.
Wow. I've got like chills going on right now. Um, the knock at midnight is such a powerful expression. I didn't know we had that in common. I had a car repossessed for me one time. I didn't get quite the same. I lost the car, but I didn't handle it as good as you. I was like, "You're not taking my car. You're not taking my car." And all of a sudden, there were two of them. One guy's a big guy, and he comes in and he grabs me, and he's twisting my arm behind me, but he puts himself against the car, and he's going, "Oh, stop, stop, ow, ow." And he's got a guy videoing me. He's killing me, but he's the one screaming, "Stop, call the police, call the police." And I'm like going, "Oh my God." So I had my darkest, one of those dark moments. I didn't get the bank thing, but what I did get is the calls at midnight. And my first book that I wrote came in the middle of the night. And I would get up. I don't like getting up in the middle of the night. Trust me, it's not fun. But I would be so inspired, I would write through the night. And then I'd come back to bed. And then Kathy would go, "Oh, let me see what you wrote." I'm going, "I don't know what I wrote." She was, "Oh my God." And because of her encouragement and everything, it was so amazing what came in the middle of the night. And that's how I had my first best-selling book, because I opened to a call that happened. And you don't have to be woken up like that. I mean, it can be a metaphor. But if you stay open, as you just gave us a most incredible story of staying open, you can find light in darkness. You had a dark moment, but you just stayed true. And then the other things you had already done then comes back and say, "Well, wait, James, you're this, you're that." So the kindness and the way we treat others, we impact people's lives with that, but then it comes back full force for us. Because I will tell you this, when I do something of good for someone else, gosh, it makes me feel great. Am I doing it for them or am I doing it for me? I don't know. But
I can tell you this, that it blesses me to bless others. There's a guy that's on this call named Mark. He has blessed me, man, with encouragement and love. And every time I get a chance to bless him, it blesses me. So if we go out to eat, I'm picking up the tab because I want to sow into him because he sows out. When you and I are blessing other people, man, it is a blessing to be in a position because we were once out of position. There were times, man, where I had to make a choice on based on budget what we were going to eat. Like Ron's kids, and they're like, "Oh yeah." Now we're getting that not because that's what I really want, but because those are 99 cents a packet. But they just thought that was a treat. And so it's all in perspective. But I understand now to be in a position where I can be a blessing is because I've been blessed. This relationship that we're forging, building, this is a blessing to me. When you were at the White House, I was at the White House because when you win, I win. I celebrate every one of your steps. I want you to be bigger than you are. I want you to be better than you are. I want you to reach further than you are, because when you reach further, man, that touches more lives. And that's part of my same bloodline because we are tied together. That's my brother. Let him win. And when you win, I win.
Wow, what a great philosophy. And that's so true. Because you are, as we've gotten to know each other, we are brothers of a different mother.
That's it, brother. Man, we even dressed alike today. Hey, you put on black? Yeah, me too. Then
Yeah, we
Page's
didn't
like,
even
I
know
want to
that.
do it
We were
too.
told, yeah, this is how you're to be coordinated, And somehow, even Paige got the buzz and went, "Oh, I guess I must wear black," not knowing why, right?
Yeah.
Part of life. I do things not knowing why. When I went to the White House, I didn't know why. I'll be honest with it. I asked them, "Why am I being singled out? And is this something that they're just trying to get thousands of people?" And going, "No, you're the only one from Utah. And I'm serving now on the cabinet of the White House Historical Association." And I don't know, man. I'm
There
like,
you go.
"Why me? What's the work you've done?" And so you never know when your work will be noticed. And I doubted. I was a doubting Thomas. I go like, "Well, you asking thousands? No, you're the very first. And there's only 11 you're the 12th on the cabinet. And we
Man,
want to come to the White
that's
House."
amazing.
And so I'm still, remember the song that I shared with Elliot's song, "Reach Out, Take His Hand." Don't try to
Yes.
ask any questions. Don't try to understand. That's how I went to the White House. I went with those words. I don't understand it. I don't have to, but I just have to stay present to see how am I supposed to be used in this moment. And I
Uh,
ask God, I just say, show me, and I'll just respond. And that's the faith I go with, not understanding. Yes, I had the questions, why me? And no one could answer. They said, just because of the work you've done. But what do you know about my work? I don't know. They knew more
Dave,
about
you
me
have
than I
no
knew about
idea
me.
whose life you touched. Why not you? Why not you? That's why everybody that's listening, everybody's watching. Why not you? And I
Right.
got to
That's the
tell you,
message.
I was sitting there with, you know, Paige read over my bio and talked about me losing my leg at 11. But even then, I didn't know I was going to lose it. And I felt betrayed that they took it without asking me. And sometimes it can feel like, man, this is just when I need things to go right, things go bad. Just when I need a breakthrough, my finances get into trouble or bind or health comes up or any of those things. And we're like, man, why me? Why not you? Because your gifts, your resiliency, the only way that great stuff is going to come out of you is you got to go through something. Dave, you're the master of taking animal analogies, but the fact that eagles at 40 will start breaking their own beaks if they so that they can grow a new one, and it takes that time in order to keep living, to keep strong, to keep it sharp, that you got to go through a breaking season so that you can be made again. There are some things that we got to stop wondering why and get to the point where it's so that my why do you want to be a speaker? So I can impact lives. So what? So that I can save lives, so that somebody else gets the hope that I wish I had had when I was 11. So I can be the father I didn't have to my son, and my son could be that to my grandson. So that's why we had to change. We need you in the White House, because when you start talking and you use the analogies that come from your faith, you inject faith in everyone there. It's a serum for the dark places and dark clouds that sit over Washington. So when you go there, it only takes one to change the atmosphere. Just like coffee grinds can change water, you're there, you change the atmosphere. That's why Dave had to be there.
I just want to read that in for a second, but I want everyone to hear you. Everyone has that. It's about answering the call at midnight. I'm going to keep
Yeah.
using that phrase because it's such a powerful phrase. And you think it's such a natural thing. It isn't a natural thing. Well, why me? Why me? It's because you're you and you're here and you're alive. And I hope people are hearing the story. We showed you one story of adversity. I have more, and the adversity I have faith in life have been the greatest moments for me to move forward in life. But that's a choice. We have a choice. And we learn from it. In the docuseries you mentioned on Moonshots that I have, they asked, how did I have a hit on the radio? Well, I was just bad until I was good. And that's how it happens in life. Or becoming a world ranked tennis player. There we go again. How? Well, I lost my way to winning. But what do we do when we lose? Do we go, oh, I'm no good? Or do we say, what did I learn from this experience? We all have it. We all have these experiences. It's what we do with the experience. You're one that I admire so much because, man, you had this loss of leg and God, why? But you got out of the why and went, well, how can I use this to benefit others? And now
Oh,
your star is shining bright.
man, I look at it and it's amazed me. Some of that shining bright star. I want to share something with you. One of the very first videos that goes viral for me is about me being cut from a team. I wanted to play. You mentioned your sports and your athletic career. You've been at the highest of heights. But for some of us, it's not about getting to go pro. It is just whatever level you at, the acknowledgement of being able to play there. You want to make something. You want to be a part of something. And I can remember when I lost my leg, my one desire was to play basketball because I thought that if I could do that, I could prove my mom wrong. I could prove everybody else wrong who said I'd never be able to do anything. But the reason why they thought I'd never be able to do it is because I had never done it. Since I hadn't walked, how am I going to play basketball? But here's the thing, your resume can only show what you were and what you've done, not what you became and what you can do. It doesn't have that on it. It doesn't have your future on it. That is in your own hands. You get to create that. And so I decided I was going to play sports. I was going to make a basketball team. And by that, making the team, that I would be identified as more than a cripple. I'd be recognized as a human. They would see me as more. So, Dave, when I tried out for the team and the coach cut me, he cut me rightly. I didn't know how to run under a 6-minute mile. I didn't know how to move laterally because I just learned to walk for the first time in my life. I had my leg gone at 11. I turned 12 and I'm walking for the first time. First steps I've ever taken at age 12. So I try out for basketball team months after learning to walk. And when I tried out, I got cut, and it felt personal and it felt isolated because when they put the names on a sheet of paper and stick it on the wall, no one's there to tell you why. And that's what happens in many of our lives. You feel rejected, you go through stuff, you feel like you need to get closure. Sometimes the best thing you have is just a closed door. Because if you were chasing that person for validation, they will always have that over you. And so I didn't get to talk to the coach. So I went home and I just worked on all those things for a full year. And so my speech that went viral, the one that it got 1.5 million views immediately after I released this, I thought back to being 12, and this was what all I said. When I went back to try out for the team, the coach had a scrimmage. And when they're scrimmaging, they're out there on the court, and I'm behind him, and I started saying to the coach, put me in the game. And the coach ignored me. I said, Coach, put me in the game. I don't care if they're bigger. I don't care if they're faster. I don't care if they're stronger. I don't care if they got better DNA. Put me in the game, Coach. They'll never give you as much as I give you. And I wouldn't let go. And so finally he released and he's like, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead. And when I got in, man, I went ballistic because I was playing with intensity of frustration of being held back. That's why everyone that is here, no matter how old you are, how long it's been a dream or fantasy or anything else that people call it, whatever you had in your heart, it doesn't matter how old you are, if you start now, there will be so much in your reserve tank, you'll make up for everything you thought you lost. Everything I thought I lost was stored up for me, Dave. I got back double for all my trouble. The coach came out to see me speak last month in Nashville. And I asked him for the first time, why did you let me finally make that team? He said, because at 13, you dunked a basketball with one leg. And I figured anybody that could come and develop themselves that much had to be a part of the team. You see, you can will your way past all the no's. You just got to understand that it is his will for you to be your best.
Amen. There's some people on this call right now. I know this is a message that's so powerful. We have some really incredible people that are doing incredible things out there. There's a group here that, are working with battered women. They're on this call right now, and they're going through challenges every day to help those that are so challenged. We have, folks from England on this call. We have folks from around the world that are on this call that needed this today. I mean, I'm so grateful that you and I said yes to this. We both got the call at midnight, and then we reached out and said, let's do this. It's powerful. And you just give everything you say even motivates me more. I mean, I am a motivated person to go for it. I know there's much more that I have to do. And I thank you for continually, I know that I have to stay and keep listening and going, where am I needed most next? What am I supposed to do? Even if I don't understand it, if I have the will to do it, as you mentioned, then all is possible. I don't have to look back. I had a chance to coach one time, Marianne Williamson, who wrote this great thing about who am I not to do this? Who am I to be this and all that? And one time she was very discouraged. And I said, well, I used the most famous quote of, that everyone knows. I said, well, who are you not to? And it was like, ooh, sometimes we write the books and say the things that we need to hear the most.
Mm.
You know, Kat, that's one thing my wife tells me all the time, because, you know, with my company called Extreme Focus, she goes, yeah, that's why it's called Extreme Focus, because you need some extreme focus right now. So I would love, if you're willing, to open it up for people to
Let's go.
ask some questions in that out there. You know, all you have to do is, and Paige, you'll help us here. And I'm going to ask
Raise your hand.
to see why I have something blocking here on my screen. I'm not the most technical. I know my gifts and I know my non-gifts, and so that's why you have help on those things. But you know, just feel free. Sometimes it's scary when you've got these kind of people listening in and everything, but it's when you take that nervousness of being afraid and you're willing to ask the question even in front of people, that's when you get your best answers. When I've been really fearful about something, but I'm willing to step into it, that's where greatness lies. So anybody, please, Paige, help us here. And if you might have a question, Paige, but anybody that has a question, you know, unmute yourself and we'll just work through it.
Yeah, and this is such a great time of the meeting where you could please take yourself off put yourself on video if you can, because it's really great to feel like we're in a room together. We get to see each other's faces. If you have a takeaway, share that in the chat. And this is a really time to connect and interact and ask your questions. I loved that concept. Kathy was saying, this is your new book. Like, we have a new book title for you, Answer the Knock at Midnight. You know, it's so good. But
Ooh, James. Ooh.
Oh,
right?
that's a word.
Ah, baby.
Oh, good. Yeah, especially if your name is Paige Clark on here. I know some of you are on my link, and so definitely I want to see your faces so we can actually see who's on here. But it's so good to have everyone here, and thank you. And that was just so inspiring. I know that the stories and the examples of how to show up in faith and in integrity and do what you're here to do is so good. And one of the thoughts that I've been having a lot is like how the only thing we really can control is the quality of our experience, you know, and you've managed this in such a beautiful way of improving your experience of being an amputee by truly stepping into all of who you are. And it's just so inspiring. So yeah, any takeaways or any questions? There's space here for everyone to interact and share and share your gratitudes as well. So you can just hop off mute or raise your hand if you have a question or a comment.
And why was someone, you always have to get started, and I hate to do this, but I love to do it. Call on someone. I want to reach out to England right now. Oh, Paul's going, oh, really? Are you really doing that? Paul, I see you on here. What time is it there right now?
It's around 8:30 in the evening.
All right.
The
Well,
reason I didn't have my camera on, I was still finishing my supper.
any comments? I got to hear something coming out of England right now. For whatever reason, I just felt inspired.
Well, I'm afraid I missed the first couple of minutes of your introduction. I was just wondering, how did you cope with, or did you have a problem with any bullying at school and things like that? Or how did people accept you?
Well,
I was at school with a similar type of person, and he had a tough time, and I just wondered how you got on.
oh, wow, that's a great question. So I'm answered. Yeah, when I moved out of the Shriners Hospital, we had the Special Olympics we could get involved with, and it felt accepting and loving while I was there. Then we moved back to Indiana, and the first thing the kids said was, let's see if he can fight, even as I was on crutches without a leg. And so they jumped me my first day of school, made me eat dirt, beat me up. This went on for a while. Kids just bullied. They would put a stick inside of a sock and walk around so they found my leg, different things like that. So yeah, I went through extreme bullying and things like that. And then finally, I think the only way that I was able to adjust to that is that when I got home, I had such a loving environment that allowed me to be vocal about some things that I was going through. And then I had I finally had a growth spurt. I can remember I went from 5'6" to 6'3" in the summer. And I came back, I gained a lot of weight as well. So by the time I'm in 7th, 8th grade, I was already tall, and then I was probably about 190, then got to about 240, graduating high school. I didn't have bullying anymore. I don't know what happened to it, but I began being bullied, and then there was the end of the bullying. It's just like someone got a national registry and said, you know what, that dog bites. So I never had to bite, you know?
That's so awesome.
That's a
Thanks,
great answer.
Paul.
Thank you. Thanks.
Anybody else? You know,
I
this
can
is your
hop in
time.
here really quick, James. I know that your YouTube has really blown up, and you have so many followers and so much success with that. And what really was like what worked for you in that realm, and being able to have such a bigger impact online? How
You
did that?
ready?
Yeah.
I'm about to give that to you. It was my biggest fear was being seen vulnerable. Biggest fear was people could see me and they would know, and maybe I would be less of a man somehow in my own mind because of what I thought a man was. So I couldn't be vulnerable. I couldn't be transparent. I couldn't admit my fears. I thought that being a man meant suffering in silence. I thought, and I felt like, as vulnerable as I feel, I can feel empowered when I'm up and I'm walking, I'm lifting, I'm doing something great, right? But when you don't have your leg on it, something happens, and you can feel vulnerable at that moment because you're limited, or you feel limited at least. And so when I began to speak, and I spoke from those vulnerable places, I got honest and I got sincere, and I was willing to be able to be naked and unashamed. Here I am with my flaws, and I'm pulling out of my life instead of coming up with a bunch of things that said, it's very easy to get up and speak like this. Guys, I'm going to show you the perfect way to shoot a free throw, and it will be a great analogy with your life. 1, you'll be in a lineup, find a routine, and 2, you'll want to, that's easy. You know what's hard though? Is when you realize that some of the things that trauma that you have experienced stains you. And then you take that stain, and instead of trying to hide it, you go ahead and show it to people, and it becomes a beauty mark. And when you begin to tell people, you begin to talk, you begin to express, people begin to connect with you and say, man, this means something. Finally, somebody put into words what I feel. And all of a sudden, growth begins to happen. And the more you begin to show up that way and stop asking questions like, I'm sure it happens with everyone who wants to speak. You have nerves. He's like, James, are you getting nervous? And I say, I don't get nervous. The reason why I don't get nervous is because I go to serve. If I get up to speak, I'm not thinking, man, I hope this sounds right. I get up to speak. I think, I'm about to give my all. I'm about to pour myself empty here. If I rise or fall, you will have had my all. You will feel that I gave you me, because I will leave it all here. And so when I get off stage, I don't ask, how was it? I go to serve. And as I did that, I saw the channel begin to surge. And as we're growing, some of the things that are happening are amazing. The growth we've had has been a great, right? Going from nothing to 1.5 million to get to 70 million views a month that are just constantly, the number of mentions. Right now, there's probably over 31 impressions just off of the time we've been here. But that's nothing compared to where we have to go. I believe we'll triple that next year.
Incredible.
Amen.
Yeah.
Like I said, just getting started. God put his hand on him and said, here's 250. It's just your starting point. The mountain's being built. Are you going to continue to keep climbing with me?
That's Dave, let me ask you, what were you ranked in tennis? What was your highest rank?
It was not it was a world ranking. Yes. I was not like this superstar. I was 300 and something in the world,
Well,
but
I
you
want
got
to show you some.
millions are going. So I looked at myself as a failure at first, but then
No,
I thought,
no,
played
that's
all over the
elite.
world. I
That's
beat.
elite. But I want to share you something. Did you know that I hold another record? I am the most flexible person on this call. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
No,
I'm
seriously,
probably
I'm able to
flexible.
do, I'm able to look at my flexibility. Is there anyone who else who can do that? I just want to know, does anybody else have that flexibility? Otherwise, see it, my world ranking on here is #1. We must learn that through your pain, you can find joy. Once you find joy, you can laugh and incorporate what was once embarrassing to you as a strength. And man, it just opens up the whole world. It's a beautiful thing instead of a stain.
I love it. I have to say one thing about my tennis. So I always say when I was on the tour, I'm getting to see the whole world at a young age.
Yeah.
I'm going like, wow, this is so incredible. But I always say, oh, I wish I had me when I played. Go, why aren't you you? Well, I wasn't who I am now. 8 years after I retired, this is crazy. A sponsor says, hey, would you like to come up, you and your wife? We didn't have kids back then yet. So Kathy and I went, hey, Canada, Vancouver, it's gorgeous in the summer. It was in August. Why not? So I went up there, but I'd learned a lot about how I limited myself through my mind. And so not only did I get the finals of the doubles, but in the finals beat the #1 team in the world. I never did that on the tour and won that tournament because I learned how to not get in my own way. I learned to just do what I do to the best of my ability, where in the past, I'd be worried about this, I'd be worried about that, and would get in the way of my performance. It's crazy. 8 years after I retired, I played better than I ever did, ever.
Man, there was a
On the
genius
tour.
that wrote mental fitness took place. It wasn't physical at that point, it was mental. Yeah.
There you are. I see Ellie has her hand up. So Ellie, go ahead and speak to us.
Good afternoon. I thought I'd jump in here since we seem to have a shy group, and I'm usually pretty outgoing, so I wanted to give other people a chance to jump in.
I love it.
Dave, James speaks so highly of you. He just adores you, and I'm lucky to get to spend some time with him. I could not jump at the opportunity to ask these high achievers, both of you, do you have any non-negotiable rituals, like daily rituals that you feel really set you apart and got you to this level of like super high achievement? That's a question I like to ask to anyone I can find at this level.
Dave, I'll let you go first and then I'll respond.
Oh man. I think for me, it's a willingness to crawl. Most people just want to be at the top. And I have found that it's taken a journey to get to where I am now. And I think what turned the corner for me is gratitude. When I became grateful for everything, all of a sudden things started to build. Where before, I go, oh, you were a world ranked tennis player, but I was 300 and something. I failed. I was in movies, I was in blockbuster movies, but I wasn't the star. Oh, I failed on that. I had a hit on the radio, but it was a one-hit wonder. I failed that. And I looked at myself as a failure in all these different things until I became grateful for what I had achieved, whatever it is. And I think when you live in gratitude, man, life just changes. When you're able to just turn the corner and say, thank you for this. To me, that's where I became just stronger in my own life. And I became more of a loving man, basically, for my wife and my kids. I mean, I've always been loving, but I came at a greater degree when I just went, oh my God, how thankful am I that I met Kathy? How grateful am I that we've been together 43 years? How grateful that I have 4 boys that I just love more each and every day. Now I have grandkids. We all can do that. Sometimes we judge by what we've accomplished, and that's what I was in the problem of doing. I was judging who I was compared to this or that. And when I decided I'm no longer going to compare myself, No longer, I'm just going to be me at the fullest and appreciate me for me rather than looking at, well, I didn't do that. I didn't do that. And when I look at now the accomplishments, I've had 3 best-selling books. I go, oh my God, I just needed to change the way I looked at myself, which helped me look at others in a much brighter light. James, take it.
Thank
Oh
you.
man, that's really good stuff. I mean, I'm gonna piggyback off you and say it. For me, I'm a debtor. I can't ever pay back my debt. I owe God. He said, much is given, much is required, and I've been given a lot. I've been given friendships when I needed it. Been given relationships when I didn't deserve it. I've been given opportunities. I've been given certain talents and gifts that I didn't use properly when I first discovered them. There are things I took for granted. But the reason why I say that I'm a debtor is because my grandmother would always say, you owe me. She raised her children and she said, baby, I was done. I didn't have to take on anybody else's kid. But with mom unprepared, dad unwilling, the grandmother stepped in. She reframed my disability. Even the Shriners used to call it the Shriners Hospital for Crippled Children. Crippled is the definition for what they would call us. And she was like, baby, you're not crippled, you just got kryptonite. And she branded me as Superman and said that, and so during my childhood, you see me with belt buckles of Superman, T-shirts of Superman. It is not about the cartoon. It is about becoming a symbol of hope. And so when she said, baby, you owe me. You owe me to be a good man. You owe me to do something with your life because I gave you me when I didn't have to. And so I owe that debt. So my non-negotiable, it was simple, is that I will never be able to pay off that debt. And so I always take it as an honor. I take it as a privilege. I take it as an opportunity to serve. I have to keep giving so I can try to pay off that debt. I set an example that even if I'm at the end of life, man, and it all is burned up and only the pure things will last, that wood, stubble, and hay, that was ego and all that stuff, wouldn't have made it anyway. But the gold that we share with each other, the investment we're making in each other, the relationships we're establishing now, Martha grabbing a friend, pulling a friend in, sitting there, when you start to share that joy and to have others come in and get some of this passion, this purpose, it changes the game. Non-negotiable is that I can never pay it off.
I love it. Ellie, where are you calling from today?
I'm in Bluffdale, Salt Lake City, Utah.
Oh, cool. So
not too far from James.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're on holiday. Well, thank you for asking the question. I'm going to give you a tool that I used. I started several years ago doing this. Every night when I go to bed, I am in bed, and then I just think about, okay, what are 3 wins of the day? It gets my mind to shift to see the good rather than we have challenges. Even in the most challenging days, I let myself stay there to find 3 wins of the day. And a young ball player I was working with last year, 23-year-old, was hitting 200 in Major League Baseball, and that's not real good, right? And I started working with him. And all of a sudden, just by shifting little things, he became one of the hottest guys in baseball. Right now, he's in the major leagues in average and everything. He signed a $288 million guaranteed contract. And they asked him recently on ESPN, what's the difference? What's the difference? Who knows what he's going to say, right? And he only gave one answer. And I know there's more to it, but he said, every day I list 3 wins of the day.
Oh,
Win.
that is beautiful. Yeah. That is beautiful. Thank you both so much.
What we feed grows. What we starve will die. So why don't we feed our minds with richness that's there available even in times of darkness? Carol's raised her hand. Let's, but thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, great.
Hi, Dave. Hey, James, when you were talking about your grandmother just now, I want to plus you. It isn't a debt she poured so much love into you that you have the abundance to just bless everyone you touch. It's like a waterfall that never ends. I have soon to be 25 grandchildren, and my world is in the birth world. We've served over 4,000 families, delivered 1,200 babies. So I see it differently. She poured that much love that you have the abundance to give, and give generously. Thank you for your story.
Thank you.
Thank you. I love all of these shares, and I'm Canadian, so Thanksgiving is coming up in October, but it's the month of gratitude, and gratitude's the secret sauce of life. And I love how that's really going into that gratitude each day with the 3 wins. Seriously, one of the most life-changing things I've done, and I always start so many of my conversations with that, and it's a really powerful tool. So thanks for sharing that, Dave. That is like, if you took anything from this, start doing that, and it'll change your life for sure. I want to make sure that all of you know about this, kind of the last call for the coaching program that Dave is launching in October. And many of us on the call are going to be there. We'd love to invite you to be a part of it. It's about becoming a top 1% coach. And whether that's you're an actual coach, or whether you're a leader and have an organization, or have people that you're influencing, where you can help people, just like Dave helped someone go from minor leagues and 200 to getting into the major leagues and signing a huge contract. You can have that kind of impact on the people in your life, and you can use these tools for yourself to become a 1%er, to make a huge difference. And so we're starting with a 3-day event at Dave's estate in Holiday, Utah, October 11th to the 13th. And we would love to have you there. And so if that's something that is interesting to you, just reach out. I'm going to put a few links into the chat so you can learn more about it, and reach out to us if you have any questions, or just if you want to apply. So Dave, do you want to just touch on the certification program before we end?
Well, I guess for me, again, everything I do, I'm going to use James. I'm going to use this all the time. You know, well, now I'm even blowing it though. The midnight wake up call, you know, to sort of think that I haven't done this in 6 years, but I'm doing it again because what a pleasure it is to be able to help others create more in their lives through a program like this. They come here in this, my home is beautiful. I'll just say it, with over 200 trees and streams, and it's just so inviting. And then to learn how over the last 30 years I've been able to affect people's lives at the way, you know, and how to have a system to do it. So then the next 6 months, we have calls every week, and then we have all the tools you can use, whether you want to coach others or whether you're a leader. You're always a coach as a leader in life. So that's really the important part. And then we come back here to beautiful Utah and have 3 days together. And it's been so uplifting for me, because I know my mission is to help others help others. Yes, I do get a chance to have private clients, but to see what those that I've had the privilege to coach change lives, man, nothing lights me up more. It's just so exhilarating to see that, you know, like James, a person like James, it's exhilarating, even though I've not had a chance to coach him. He's done it to where I see the light that he, as I called him, the lighthouse. We all can become lighthouses if we choose to. So it's a system that Roger Anthony and I developed, and Roger Anthony, unfortunately, we lost him. You know, he passed a few years back, but his work is living through this, and the system is so successful that I get so excited about sharing it for others, so that you can have success and changing other people's lives to the highest.
Awesome. So thanks for letting us share about that. Again, if you think of anyone or know of anyone, it's starting in a few weeks. So we're making the final call for that. And James, thank you so much for being on, for the
Oh
inspiration.
man, I'm honored. In fact, I want to say this here. I want to shift things. Guys, you've been wondering, like, how do you get to the next level? What do you need to get from where you want to be, where you are to where you want to be? Your big kahuna goal, right? The only way to get there is you got to have somebody who's been there that can help you get there. What he's offering you is a chance of a lifetime. He's gone from the White House to my house. He's willing to go from there and not see a difference in an issue that you're having, but saying, I can get you there and I'm welcoming you into my home. I wanted to take my 30 years of that it took to build that and put that into you so that you can last the next 30 years with others. You don't get opportunities like that. And if you do, you don't waste them. I'm encouraging you, if you want extreme focus, you want to see extreme results, you got to get in the game. No one makes it alone, but if you can get a coach, they can shortcut it. In the same way that if an athlete can go from batting 200, and most people will be satisfied. If I'm good 20% of the time, I'm good. But that's not enough. But to take him from there to a contract that's bigger than his average was, guaranteed, then why not do that with your own self? You want to enhance, you want to grow, then you got to get in the dance. And this is the way you do it. Extreme focus. Thank you guys for having me on.
I don't even know what to say. James, I love you, man. I love you.
Love you,
That's all
brother.
I can say.
Thank you for having me on.
Aloha, kahanui, e mahalo. And I know Aspen, who's on, can grab hold of that. He's in Hawaii right now. I saw him on there. Aloha, everyone. Thank you.
Everyone. Bye for now.